When you think about what could take down your home's heating or air conditioning, your mind probably jumps to old age, right? Or maybe a cheap brand. But what if the biggest threat is something you can't just replace? What if it's the very ground your house is built on and the air you're breathing every single day? Seriously, think about it. Does it? The answer might actually surprise you. We're going to dive into how your local environment could be waging a secret war on what is probably the most expensive appliance in your entire home. So, look, we all get that a 20-year-old furnace is living on borrowed time. That's a given. But here's the crucial thing we often miss. Where that furnace lives can be just as important as how old it is. The environment itself, it acts like this invisible factor, just adding all this extra wear and tear. Let me put it this way. Think about two identical cars. One spends its life in a dry desert climate. The other is up in a snowy state, dealing with salted roads all winter. You wouldn't expect them to age the same way, would you? Of course not. One is battling constant sun and fine dust that gets into everything. The other is fighting off that corrosive rust from road salt in extreme cold. Same machine, totally different fates dictated by their environment. Well, your HVAC system? It's no different. Every single day, your system is doing more than just heating or cooling. It's fighting a battle. Maybe it's fighting corrosive salt spray from a nearby ocean, or the constant shifting of clay soil underneath it. To see just how intense this fight can get, let's look at a real-world example. We're going to zoom in on Taylor, a city in southeastern Michigan. It is the perfect case study because, honestly, its environment puts heating and cooling systems through an absolute gauntlet. And this isn't just a list of weather conditions. It's more like an attack plan. We're talking about brutal freeze-thaw cycles that stress metal parts to their breaking point. We've got humid summers, thanks to the Great Lakes, which create this constant risk of frozen coils. And then there's the ground itself, heavy clay soil that literally moves, putting constant pressure on the system's foundation and its delicate refrigerant lines. It's a relentless multi-front war. Okay, so what does all that actually do to your equipment? How do these environmental factors translate into actual broken parts? Let's connect the dots and see exactly how a location can cause specific, and often very expensive, failures. All right, first up, the air itself. Taylor's summers are muggy. Thick with moisture from the nearby lakes. Your air conditioner's job is to pull all that moisture out of the air. But this constant, heavy humidity creates the perfect conditions for a really specific problem. And boom, here's the result, a literal block of ice. See, when the airflow is even slightly off, maybe from something as simple as a dirty filter, all that extra moisture freezes right onto the AC coils instead of draining away. This block of ice basically chokes the whole system, and just like that, you've got no cool air on the hottest day of the year. Now let's move from the air to the ground beneath our feet. A lot of Taylor is built on this clay-heavy soil, and what this stuff does is it expands when it gets wet in the spring, and then it shrinks and cracks when it's dry in the summer. The ground itself is unstable. And all that movement puts a ton of stress on the system's foundation. It can actually crack the concrete pad your outdoor unit sits on. But even worse, it can bend and weaken the delicate refrigerant lines that are connected to it, leading to these slow, hidden, and really costly leaks. And now for winter's 1-2 punch. Michigan winters mean the temperature is constantly going above and below freezing, which puts an incredible strain on all the metal components. But on top of that, all the salt that you use on the roads gets kicked up into the air by traffic, coating everything in this invisible, corrosive film. This brutal combination attacks the very heart of your system. That constant expanding and contracting can cause tiny little cracks in a furnace's heat exchanger, which is a really dangerous failure, by the way. And at the same time, that salty air just eats away at the outdoor electrical connections, causing them to fail way before they should. Okay, so knowing all these risks, what's the right move when your system finally gives up? Deciding whether to repair, maintain, or just replace the whole thing can save you thousands of dollars. So let's walk through the framework for making that call. Each of these serves a totally different purpose, right? An emergency repair, well, that's when your AC dies on a 90-degree day, and your goal is simple: get it working now. Preventative maintenance, that's your annual checkup. It's all about catching the small problems before they become catastrophic ones, hopefully saving you from that emergency call in the first place. And replacement, that's the big strategic move. That's for when your 20-year-old furnace needs a $1,000 part
And it just makes more sense to invest that money in a new, efficient model for long-term peace of mind.
Now, let's arm you with two simple but really powerful rules of thumb. These are tools you can use no matter where you live to make smarter, more confident decisions about your HVAC system. First up is the $5,000 rule. It's a super quick calculation to help you avoid throwing good money after bad. Let's say you have a 15-year-old furnace and the repair is going to cost $400. Well, you just multiply 15 by 400. That's $6,000. Since that's over the $5,000 threshold, the math is telling you it's probably time to invest in a new, reliable system instead of just patching up the old one again. And the second one is the 3-minute rule. This one is so simple but absolutely crucial. If your AC shuts off for any reason, maybe the power flickered or you turned it off at the thermostat, wait 3 full minutes before you turn it back on. This gives the refrigerant pressure inside the system time to equalize. If you restart it too soon, you're forcing the compressor to work against this immense pressure. It's literally like trying to start your car in 5th gear. A tiny bit of patience here can save you from a catastrophic and incredibly expensive compressor failure.
So the next time you hear your system kick on, don't just think about the temperature inside your house. Think about the world outside. Is your system fighting humidity? Is it dealing with shifting soil or breathing in corrosive air? Because understanding your home's hidden story, that's the first real step to protecting its heart.